Hey, it's Ronald Lammy here in Experts in Power. We have a podcast where we bring experts to answer some of your questions. And today we have here with us Angela Blumer. Thank you for coming to the show.
Thank you for having me.
It's an honor to have you here. So Angela, she is with the South Carolina Territory Manager at Gulfstream Property and Casualty Insurance. So tell us a little bit about what you do. What's your position about?
Basically what I do is support the Gulfstream agents here in South Carolina. I work with new agents, new appointments, and do training, make sure that they're comfortable with our systems and with our underwriting guides, and get them set up so that they can be successful in writing policies with us.
That's a great service. So where are you from originally?
Originally from Greenville, South Carolina.
Okay.
I left Greenville after I graduated from Clemson and moved to Houston, Texas.
Wow.
Then to Florida, and then to Atlanta. And in 2006, ended up back in Greenville with my family.
Huh?
Yeah.
So
Came home.
What was your favorite place so far to live?
I love Greenville.
Greenville.
It's still a small town, but it's kind of got a big town feel. It's close to the mountains. It's close to the beach.
I love Greenville.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been there.
Fun.
Well, last time I was there was maybe 2 years ago.
Yep.
But I saw the growth. Previously, I was there maybe 15 years ago. And
Lots.
I saw the growth.
A lot of changes.
Like you said, it's like right in the middle of everything. The mountains, even Atlanta, Charlotte is close by, the beach.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Yep.
it's a great spot. And the weather is really, really nice.
It is. We see seasons, and we see a little bit of snow, but not too much.
Yeah.
So it usually have snow about 3 days, and then we're done.
Sure. Yeah, I think Texas, it can get really hot, same as Florida, right?
Absolutely.
Sure. So how long you been here as a rep right here, as a territory manager here in South Carolina?
With Gulfstream, I've been with them for 3 years. Prior to that, I was in South Carolina. I did the same thing basically for Farmers Insurance and some of their subsidiaries with Foremost and Zurich Small Business.
Sure.
So I was with them for about 17 years, and then have moved to Gulfstream.
So you have the answers. So you have the experience and the answers to help out.
If
This
I
is the
don't
right
have-
person to
Yep.
have on your side.
If I don't have the answers, I can certainly find out.
You can find them.
Normally get down to this area about once a quarter.
Mm-hmm.
Most of Gulfstream's agents are located along the coast of South Carolina. So I usually rotate, Orion, Georgetown County, then Charleston and Colleton County, and then Beaufort. So that's kind of my rotation.
And you do that how often?
I'm out at least once a month.
Once a month.
So,
just
yeah.
on a different.
Yeah.
And what do you do in these locations? You just giving some support to your agents?
Visit agents, do any training that may be needed if they've hired additional staff or have replaced producers. And then just, answer questions that they have.
Sure.
Hopefully make it easier for them to write business with Gulfstream.
So earlier in the show, we had one of your agents here, Christy, and she was talking wonderful things about you, how you helped her, throughout her career in the insurance. She was just telling us, how you became a mentor and how important it is to have a mentor as an insurance agent. Can you tell us about that?
Well, when I first met Christy, she had just gotten her license. We were her first appointment. So, and the thing that I admire about her is instead of, just going through and giving the coverage that, she thought might be appropriate, she really talks to her clients. She listens to them, kind of determines what coverages they need. If she doesn't understand a coverage, she doesn't hesitate to to call either me or our underwriting staff, which is based in Columbia. And so she's really taken off and grown that business over 2 years.
Wow. So that sounds like you had great advice for her to like help her to get to that level.
It was kind of a family of advice. It wasn't just me. It was our employees in Columbia as well, our underwriters and customer service.
Sure.
Yeah, they're phenomenal.
I mean, it takes a team to get to the top, right?
It does.
And that's what we're all about right here. And just, we want to have the experts in power. Obviously, they might have a team behind them and bring out here to our audience, people that have the experts and have a team behind it. They can answer all these questions since they are so complex.
Right.
So how do you get into this industry? You say you've been in it about 17 years?
I have. My first insurance-related job was with USAA in Tampa, Florida. I had been managing apartments to that point.
So you were like the managing like the maintenance and all that stuff?
Yeah,
property management?
Property management.
Okay.
And I wanted to make a change. I had several neighbors that worked for USAA, and it's a really good company. So I saw they had a position available and interviewed for it, and they asked if I had my insurance license, and at the time I did not. But I told them that I'd be sitting for the test that next week, and they said, well, don't get your hopes up. You usually don't pass on the first time. But I did.
You did?
So,
wow.
Yeah, so that was kind of cool.
Yeah, I heard about that too. I heard about, some of these tests are pretty hard.
Well, and, I think it was easier for me coming in and not knowing anything about insurance other than what I was taught in the class to study for the test.
Sure.
People who have been doing the job for a while, different carriers have different, requirements, and so it gets a little messier.
Sure.
When you're not doing it strictly from book knowledge, which is what I did.
Right.
So, yeah.
Okay, that's
easier.
awesome. So you were a property manager?
Yes.
Previous to that, do you deal with insurance at that point, like filing a claim for the properties you were managing back then?
I didn't. And to be real honest, before I got into the insurance industry, I wasn't really aware how important it can be.
Sure.
It's something that, most people have, and it's not really by choice. It's something that's either required by a mortgage company or a lender on a car.
It's a great way to also protect your investment.
Exactly. When you need it, it's good to have.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You never know when you need it. That's one of the things about insurance. So tell me some of your biggest fears starting this career. So you went from property management to get into the insurance industry. Like, do you have any type of fears back then?
It was just the learning curve, learning what would be covered, what wouldn't be covered, learning things that we could cover, like jewelry or, maybe a boat policy. And one of the scariest things that I remember working with USAA is, and it usually happened the Friday after Thanksgiving or Christmas Eve, when a little retired general or colonel would call and say, honey, I've been reading my policy and I have some questions for you. And then you knew, pull up the policy contract because he was going to go line by line. And, you just...
Does that happen often?
It did. With that company, it happened quite a bit.
Sure.
But it helped me too, because it helped me learn where coverages were, because in an insurance contract it can get confusing because they can give you the coverage over here and then take it away over here, but then you can buy back some, so it can get confusing.
Sure.
That's why you need a good agent like Christy.
Sure.
Yeah.
And then somebody like Christy needs somebody like you to be able to
Absolutely.
have all the
It's-
questions and answers that they need.
Yeah.
That's great. So I'm sure that now being 17 years in the industry, that qualifies you as a as a leader in the industry, and to be able to give advice to homeowners, anywhere from homeowners to insurance agents, right? I mean,
Yep.
that's what that's what I'm assuming right now, of course.
It does. I'm not an expert by any means, because I think I'm constantly learning, even with that much experience. But absolutely, a lot of times I can tell agents, well, there was a time when this agent did this and they needed this. So a lot of life experience.
Sure.
Yeah.
And that's a great point, being able to also stay humble about what you know, because that will keep you learning as much as possible, because these industries, insurance, restoration, construction, it's just so much behind it. It's just a never ending, never learning, ending learning.
Right, and I know with just about all certifications and licenses, I have my CIC, which is Certified Insurance Counselor designation, and we take updates every year for that. And the state requires all all licensed insurance agents to take CE requirements. Certain number of hours for product information, and then they also require us to take a certain number of hours for ethics, which is extremely important in our industry.
Ethics is that's a big thing right here. This to be able to be as ethic as possible, and so you can really help your clients, because I'm sure that there might be some people there that lack a little bit of ethics out there, maybe. And at some point, maybe
one or two,
maybe one or two, and maybe when if you don't choose the right person to help you out,
right,
you can get into like some situations that you might not want. All right, so what are your plans for 2020?
2020, we're kind of stabilizing right now. Not really adding a lot of agents, because we have good agents in place with us right now. Now, that could change in the future as we expand and get different products available. And anytime an agent is interested in writing with Gulfstream, I'm more than happy to talk with them and see if it makes good business sense for us to partner together.
Sure. And you say your company, where is the company from?
The company is based in Sarasota, Florida. We've been in business since 2004. We write business in Florida, South Carolina, Alabama, Mississippi, Louisiana, and Texas. And the majority of the business is in Florida, because they've been there the longest. We came into South Carolina in 2016.
2016, okay.
Came in March, and then Hurricane Matthew hit in October. Sure. So that was kind of a boots on the ground,
ready to go, right?
Yeah, it really
that's a pretty good storm. That's a pretty big storm.
It was, and we had a good bit of business on Hilton Head.
Sure.
And a lot of the big trees on Hilton Head did not survive that storm.
Didn't withstand. So you had a lot of trees going into the properties. Down. Wow. Yeah. That's unfortunate, but at least if you have coverage for that, you're ready for that.
Absolutely.
That's much better. All right, so let's talk about some tips that we can give our audience. The tips, anywhere ranging from the homeowners to the insurance agent. But let's start out with the homeowners.
Okay.
What tips would you have for a homeowner that's looking into buying a policy?
The big thing to realize with insurance contracts is different carriers offer different things. And going through one of your local independent agents like Christy is the best way, because she's familiar with what the carriers have to offer, and in talking to the customers, she can determine their needs. I would strongly recommend, being honest with your insurance agent and always asking questions. If she says something that about a coverage or about an exclusion that you don't really understand, ask her or him or her to explain that.
Sure.
That's
As a homeowner, you should try to understand as much as possible every.
absolutely. It's a necessary evil because your mortgage company is going to require you, if you have a mortgage, to have a homeowner's policy, but you want to ask about the different deductibles. They can, especially along the coastal area, if wind is included, it can vary from a wind and hail deductible to a named storm deductible or a hurricane deductible. And there is a lot of difference in that.
Well, what else should they ask besides the deductibles?
One of the things is
Like basics, basic
Yep.
questions just to
is the insurance carrier that you're quoting me with an admitted carrier, or are they an excess and surplus carrier? Gulfstream is an admitted carrier.
So what is admitted carrier? What does that mean?
Admitted carrier for the South Carolina Department of Insurance, everybody that writes in the state of Florida that is admitted has to submit any rate increases, any changes to their product. All of that's submitted to the Department of Insurance and has to be approved, for us to be able to implement rate increases, any of that.
Sure.
A non-admitted carrier can change rate
Anytime.
without
Wow.
submitting. Another big advantage to being an admitted carrier, everybody that writes in the state of South Carolina contributes a portion of their premium to the insurance pool in South Carolina. What that does is, for instance, if a carrier went out of business and your home's insured with them, the carrier's no longer solvent, so they can't pay your claim. But if you're written with an admitted carrier, they go to the pool, and they pay the claims out of the pool.
That's great information
So
to know.
it's real important, and a lot of times, especially when you're buying a new house or something, all you can think about is price, but you've really got to think about, is that carrier going to be there when
Or
you
are they
need
going
them?
to change the prices on me?
Exactly.
Like next year, they're going to
Right.
give me a whole different, higher price than I had.
Yep.
That's a great question. I never thought about that. I didn't know about that, as
Yeah.
a matter of fact. Wow, but that's great information. So, is there a big difference on the prices between a carrier, non-admitted versus an admitted?
There can be. There's more of a difference in what the non-admitted carriers will write. Sometimes they will write risks that an admitted carrier won't. For instance, if you've got, too many claims and an admitted carrier
Turn you down.
doesn't fit their criteria or their appetite, then your agent may place you with an excess carrier who allows the claims, but they also charge for them.
Sure.
So a lot of times, because of the type of business that's going into that excess market, it's more expensive.
Sure.
So.
Wow. Okay. That's great to know too. All right. Before we came out here, you also were talking about alarm systems. Tell us a little bit about alarm systems for the homeowners.
With Gulfstream, we offer several discounts, and one of those is for a monitored burglar and fire alarm. That will give you a discount off your premium. So if you're looking at the cost of installing an alarm system, talk to your insurance carrier, get them to quote your policy with that discount and see if that can,
That makes sense.
yeah, help make the installation of the alarm a lot more affordable.
Sure. All right, we're talking about discounts right now.
Mm-hmm.
Tell us about some of the discounts, some of the different discounts that, comes to your head.
Gulfstream only writes homeowners. We
Sure.
write a homeowners, we write basically a renter's policy. If you don't own where you live and you just need coverage for your stuff, we write that. And we write a condo policy. We don't write auto, but we do give a companion discount if the agent that writes the homeowners with us writes an auto in their agency with another carrier. We give a discount for
That's
that.
great.
We give a discount if the agent writes the flood with us. We also give a discount for a hip roof as opposed to a gable roof. If
That's a pretty good discount you were telling me.
it is a pretty substantial discount, and the reason we do that is because wind studies have proven that a hip roof is going to hold up better in a storm than just a gable.
Mm-hmm.
So as long as you're 75% hip, we're good.
You're good.
Mm-hmm.
So tell us a tip for homeowners of what to do. What are some of the things that they should do before the storm, or how did they prepare even way before the storm?
Storm season is from June 1st to December 1st. And a lot of people, this time of year, middle of December, they think, okay, I don't have to worry about storms again until next summer. But in reality, it's when you should, if you're going to add shutters, if you're going to, change windows or doors to impact resistant windows or doors, kind of give your home a checkup and prepare it for the next season's storms during the off season. Usually the contractors are not as busy as they are during the summer, so they may even
You
be
can take
able
advantage of the
yeah,
pricing.
Exactly.
Now, what would you recommend as far as roof, like before, like how to inspect it, or?
If you've been through storms, absolutely have someone come out and take a look, and you don't necessarily have to see leaks on the inside for the integrity of the roof to be compromised, and a professional roofer can tell you that.
Sure. Okay, that's great advice. Now, and not only just doing these upgrades to your home is going to benefit you, but it's also going to increase the value of your home, right? It could.
It definitely will, and most carriers offer additional discounts if all of the doors and windows have impact resistant materials.
Sure.
So
That's a great investment.
Great investment in the house, and also could save you money on your insurance.
Sure.
Yeah.
What about, okay, so people gets prepared, they get their inspections done. What about their policies? Should they start looking into, December, January, start looking into a policy? What can they add, before the hurricane is here, before that big storm is here?
I would recommend anyone get a flood quote. It's not something, if you're not in a hazardous flood zone, your mortgage company's not going to require it. I can tell you over the last 5 years in South Carolina, the majority of the homes that have flooded here have been in non-hazardous zones. With all of the construction and there's less green space to absorb the water, so it goes to the rivers, and the rivers just kind of flow downstream. If you're not in a hazardous zone, it can be an inexpensive coverage to add.
How much would you say that it can vary from? What's the range?
I really don't know. I can't.
I think Christy was saying somewhere around $400 and some dollars.
Yeah.
I mean,
that sounds right.
Right.
Yeah.
It could be something once you divide that in 12 months, I mean,
Right.
it makes sense to have it, especially if you don't know.
Right.
You know, you don't want to have a surprise.
Yeah, pack your lunch one day and use that money to buy the flood policy. And you
Sure.
know, one thing to remember with most flood policies is there's a 30-day waiting period. So, you know, this is definitely the time to look into that.
Sure.
Because you don't want to see the storm headed your way and then not be able to purchase that.
Sure. Yeah, you can have a surprise, a very costly surprise
Right.
on that end. All right. Another question that we have a lot as a roofing contractor is if our client or homeowner, a policyholder submits a claim, will that claim affect their premium?
With Gulfstream, it depends on the cause of the loss. We don't surcharge for losses, but we do tier our policies based on one of the criteria is losses. However, if it's an act of God claim, weather related, that doesn't impact the tiering with Gulfstream. Now, there may be other carriers who surcharge just based on the number of claims or the number of paid claims. So I would recommend that the homeowner talk to their agent and find out what their specific carrier, how they handle that.
Okay, that's great information too as well, because a lot of times the homeowners are asking us these questions. That they might be afraid to increase their policy, their premiums if a hailstorm came through.
Right.
So that's great advice.
Well, and one thing too, if with Gulfstream, we give a discount on a homeowner's policy for roofs that are aged 1 to 10 years. So if they replace that roof, even if it's not a claim-related replacement, if they replace it, they need to make sure they let their agent know because there may be discounts involved.
Sure.
So it can make a difference.
I know we are also aware of some of the products that we install as a roofing contractor. The wind rating exceeds 100. Some are from 130. It ranges from 130 miles per hour up to 200 miles per hour. Some of our metal roofs, they go up to 200 miles per hour, and I know that a lot of our clients, they get great discounts on that.
Right.
As well on the wind rating. What kind of tips can you give out to our agents that are listening?
The biggest advice is listen to your customer. Don't be afraid to ask questions of your customer. Most insurance applications have a list or a page that has underwriting questions. And sometimes, if an agent's in a hurry, they may just go down and say, no, 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 yes, no, whatever. Go through that, give and use that as the time to continue to build the relationship with your customer and to make sure that they're covered properly. Also, going in and doing a replacement cost estimator when you issue your policy. That way, based on the information that the insured gives you, you can come up with a good replacement cost for that home. And that's something that's really important, is to make sure it's covered properly.
Sure. What about when the storms are coming? It's a big storm that's coming. I heard you saying before that usually, they don't let no agents write no more policies.
That's correct. If a storm threat is imminent to South Carolina, our underwriting team down in Sarasota, they monitor that.
The weather. Yeah.
Usually every 30 minutes to an hour.
Sure.
They keep us open as long as
possible.
Prudently possible. But then there is a time when it looks like the storm's coming directly to us where they may shut down certain counties or if it's a big enough storm, I've seen the entire state shut down. So that's something to remember too, is, binding authority can be restricted during storm season.
How long, let's say, you have, or the agents have, or the homeowners have, typically to buy their policy at that point? Is it like as soon as they talk about the storm that's coming, or like?
And it depends on the carrier, because you'll hear when the storms are coming, agents talk and say, well, this company's already shut down. Well, this company's shut down, but it's just for the coast, So different carriers handle it differently. Gulfstream, like I said, we try to wait until the last possible minute. And then on the back side of it, it's really important too, once the threat has passed, it's real important for the carriers to react to that and get the area opened back up for new business.
How long after that?
Just depends. We try to do it as quickly after the threat's passed as possible. I've heard, some carriers, take a little bit longer.
Okay.
We're a little more nimble because we're a smaller company, so we can close and open.
One thing that you said before with flood insurance is 30 days, so
30
you
days.
cannot get it.
There are some products, some private market flood products that don't have a waiting period, but you'd have to qualify for those. So as a general rule, for the NFIP, there's a 30-day waiting period.
What would be some of these qualifications to get into one of those products?
A more non-hazardous zone. And no prior flood claims, that type of thing.
Sure, I understand that. Tell us about the importance of the relationship with an underwriter for the agents.
Each carrier handles, how their agents relate to underwriting differently. And one thing that sets Gulfstream apart from a lot of the other carriers, we have a dedicated team of underwriters. We have 4 people that are in Columbia, South Carolina, and they're dedicated to Gulfstream and to South Carolina. What that does is it allows our agents to reach out directly to them. If they've got a situation, they have questions about something, they have access to those underwriters' direct extensions or to their email address. Some of the other carriers and carriers I've worked with in the past, when calls like that come in, they go into a queue. So you may get one person one time and another person another time, and there's not a lot of consistency. But with the way we have it structured, it allows the agents to build that reputation with the underwriter, and the underwriters know, Christy, for example, has a great rapport with our underwriting team, and they know that if Christy sends something in, that she's done all of the frontline underwriting, because that's how she rolls.
Sure.
So it's really important
To have that relationship. That's like with pretty much any business. Like that's the deeper and the better the relationship, the better everything can function altogether. All right. Anything else that you might want to talk about as far as tips for homeowners or agents? Anything that can come to your mind?
Not that I know of. The probably one of the biggest tips for agents is don't be a price seller. There's
like
enough of that
Sure.
out there. The customer's coming to you for a reason, and they're coming to you for guidance. And so you need to sell the value of that policy instead of just, this is the cheapest thing I've got. So
Sure. Yeah, that's one of the things that it also plays a big role in
roofing.
our industry too as well. You know, a lot of people think that everybody's looking for the cheapest, and not necessarily. They're just looking for somebody that has experience, as an expert,
Right.
to be able to guide them into, you know, making the best decision for themselves. You know, so that's one thing that we have very clear, is not to just compete on prices.
Right.
We just want to give the best of the best to our clients, the best experience, and the best product, you know, to whatever on their needs.
Well, and a roof is a more long-term investment, but with insurance, I mean, basically a customer has the opportunity to reshop it at every renewal if they so choose. And, you know, somebody told me one time, if you sell that person on price, if you stress that that's the most important thing, that's what they're going to remember, and they'll leave you because somebody else can, you know, have a lower price. You've got to sell them in, you know,
Service.
Yeah, service and value.
Great product,
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely. I love that. I love that,
Yeah.
that advice. That's a great advice. So tell us a little bit about yourself as far as traveling. How's your life, you know, constantly traveling?
You know, I don't think I could sit in an office all day, every day. When I go for continuing ed classes or go for meetings, I'm probably more worn out than when I'm on the road, you know, going and visiting agents. I have a pretty good life. Most of my agents, like I said, are located along the coast.
So you get to see the ocean.
Yep, get to
spend
see
time
the
around.
ocean, spend time in great cities.
Just great perks.
Little advantage to going to the Charleston area. I've got a daughter who's a first grade teacher in that area.
Oh, that's great.
So she lives there, and my son is a junior at the Citadel. So when I'm in Charleston, I can visit with the kids while I'm working. So that's fun.
Nice. You get to play and work
Absolutely.
at the same time. That's
Absolutely.
awesome. That's awesome. So one question that we ask out here is, if you could talk to, you know, your younger self, what would be that advice that you would give yourself?
I would say don't get too caught up in what you're going to be when you grow up. Just kind of, you know, follow what's meant to happen.
Don't stress so much about.
Yeah,
Right.
I was an English major in college, and everybody, you know, well, what are you going to do as an English major? I have no idea. You know, I knew I liked reading, so that's, you know, that seemed to be the thing to do. But, you know, if you just kind of follow and you're not afraid to step into something that you're not comfortable with, you know, you can make it happen.
Sure, just
So,
jump head first and
absolutely.
and go through the adventure of life, right?
Yep, yep.
That's a great advice. Now, what's one of the best advice you ever had?
I had a boss when I was working with farmers who his mantra was, you know, you've got to work smarter instead of harder. You know, and you can get up every day and you can dread what you're doing, or you can be smart about it and appreciate the job you've got and just kind of roll with it, you know?
Sure.
Just don't make it harder.
Right. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a great advice.
Yeah.
That's something that I believe myself. Don't work harder, work smarter.
Yep.
And I believe that, you know, knowledge is power. You know?
Yep.
The more that you surrender yourself with these people, the experts, you know, the kind of people you surrender yourself by, is going to help you, you know, have a better outcome in life.
Whole lot more fun.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yep.
Angela, well, thank you so much for coming.
Oh,
It
you're
was
welcome.
an honor coming out here, for you to come out here and join us. I really enjoyed talking to you. You have great advice and a lot of great knowledge. So thank you so
you
much
for
for
having
coming.
me.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Absolutely.